Loki is the true jumping off point of Phase 4. I believe that even though we've had WandaVision and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier and even Black Widow, they were all kind of epilogues to the Infinity War. Black Widow was kind of a prologue, but also an epilogue. But this is the true jumping off point of Phase 4. All those other things were rather inconsequential. They were just wrapping up and showing these new heroes coming into their own with the retirement of Captain America and Iron Man. I mean, the death of Iron Man, but that's kind of like a very permanent retirement. But this is the actual kickoff of Phase 4. It gives us all of the things that we need and all the buildup and the big baddies and sets the stage for it. And I'm going to get into why. But real quick, before I get into why, I'm going to do a very quick, and I mean super quick synopsis of all 6 episodes. So, Loki kicks off right at the end of Endgame with Loki picking up the Tesseract and teleporting out of there. But the TVA, who is like this huge overarching thing that controls time and space and makes sure that the flow of time goes correctly and they're kept by the timekeepers, gets him and is like, hey, you were messing up time. You weren't supposed to do that, so we have to kill you. But this guy Mobius, played by Owen Wilson, who works for the TVA, is like, hey, we can help him. He can help us catch all the other Lokis, because Lokis are a big problem with the TVA, always diverging and finding different outs and everything, because that's what Lokis do. They survive. So Mobius recruits him to help them stop this very evil Loki that they haven't been able to track down. So they track her down, finding out that she's been living in apocalypses to try and escape the TVA. Loki finds her, and her name is Sylvie, and she's actually a woman. And they escape together to another apocalypse, but this is the worst apocalypse. So in the face of death, they're about to die by a huge explosion, and they end up having this weird self-love kind of masturbatory if you think about it, but they have this weird self-love thing that creates a huge divergence, so the TVA finds them and brings them back. Then they find out the timekeepers aren't real, and they find out that all of these people in the TVA weren't created. They were kidnapped from the timeline and they had real lives. So Mobius sides with them and tries to overthrow the TVA, but he gets killed, Loki gets killed, and Sylvie kills herself to go find Loki. Then they go into this place called the Void, where everybody that's killed gets sent, and they find a whole bunch of other Lokis that end up helping them try to defeat this big cloud dog monster. Once they defeat the big cloud dog monster, they go to this place that's like a palace. They're greeted by this weird talking clock that's very freaky and jump scares you. And they're like, he who remains is here. I'm going to call him Kang because his name is actually Kang. Kang is here, and he controls all of this. So Kang is like, hey, I'm old, I'm tired. Basically, for eons and eons, I have been preventing a multiversal war of multiple of me that want to come overthrow the world and be dictators, and that's why I'm doing this. But I've been doing it a long time. So you can either kill me and start a multiversal war, or you can take over. And Sylvie is like, I'm just gonna kill him. Loki's like, no, we should take over. I'm a good guy now. I've had a lot of personal growth. I don't think we should do that. But Sylvie's like, nah. I'm gonna kiss you as a distraction, push through a portal. I'm gonna kill him. So then she kills Kang and, opens up the multiverses. Whew, can't believe I did that. I don't know how long that took, like a minute maybe. But there we go. But before we get into the main meat of the video, the thing you came here for, the thing that I'm going to be talking about mostly, there are a few things that I want to touch on about this show that I find very interesting. So if you'll bear with me for a minute, I'm going to touch on a couple things, and then I'm going to get to why this is the most important thing in Phase 4 so far, in the true beginning of Phase 4. So I feel like I'm not alone here when I say I was the most skeptical about a Loki standalone show. I didn't know if Loki could handle his own show and carry his own show and keep the momentum and keep me interested. WandaVision, obviously that made sense. That dealt with a lot of grief and sacrifice and coming to terms with what had happened at the end of the Infinity Saga with the snap. A lot of those same things were huge parts of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, coming to terms with what happened at the end of the snap. Now, even though I said this is the start of Phase 4, I do believe that they couldn't just jump from the end of the Infinity Saga, from Thanos, from everybody being dusted for 5 years, into a whole new storyline. We needed time to breathe with that. We needed to see the world after that, and they were important. But they didn't serve the plot or the point of what's coming next. And this is the first one that does. And I believe that of all 3 shows that we have gotten, and the movie, I enjoyed every aspect of this a lot more consistently than I enjoyed those. A lot of that was to do with the fact that the acting and the chemistry of this is amazing. The chemistry between the main 2 characters is very, very good. And it's important that it's good because they're the same person, just of different sexes. But on top of that, all of the side characters and all the dialogue was phenomenal. I want to talk about Mobius for a second. I relate Mobius to kind of like the Agatha and the Zemo of this show. Side characters, but incredibly important and consequential side characters. Owen Wilson hasn't given a performance like this in like his entire career, I think. He's typically a comedy actor, and the only thing I've really seen him in a drama in is Marley and Me. And this is leagues above that in the terms of acting. And I was not expecting this performance from him. I'm so pissed off that he didn't get his jet ski. Give Mobius his goddamn jet ski, Marvel, is all we want for him. He needs his jet ski. But if you know the feelings that I had about Zemo, you'd be surprised for me to say that I enjoyed every moment that Mobius was on screen as much as I enjoyed all the moments that Zemo was on screen. Another thing was that it was tough at times to remind myself that this was 2012 Loki. He did not do the sacrifice that he did at the end of Infinity War. He hadn't had the personal growth that he did throughout Ragnarok. He was literally moments away in the beginning of this from trying to take over the world as the hand of Thanos. But it makes his earned and personal growth throughout this to where at the end of the show, he is literally fighting for people's free will and freedom to make sure that people aren't being kidnapped from their timelines and enslaved, and you get that personal growth. At the end of this, he probably has more growth and is a better person and less fighting for himself and fighting for others than he was by the time he died at the end of the entirety Infinity Saga. Although it was difficult to remind myself at times at the beginning of this that this is not the same Loki we are used to, it really wasn't all that hard because he got there rather quickly. Now, onto the cliffhangers. This has a lot of cliffhangers in it. Every single episode leads perfectly into the next episode. It's basically like an entire movie back to back to back to back. It leaves off right where you left off. But the problem with that is it's like watching a movie and every 50 minutes somebody comes in your room, unplugs your TV and is like, fuck you, you're watching the next one next week. You know? But I'm okay with that. Even with the major cliffhanger at the end of the season, I'm okay with that. Not just because there's another season. There's not going to be one of WandaVision or the Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think. I think those are standalone miniseries. This might be an overarching series throughout the entirety of the MCU. I think they can do a lot of things with it. Maybe explore some like Doctor Who avenues where he goes through time and rights wrongs. I think that'd be fun. But even if that wasn't the case, the MCU, like I say, is just the most high-budget TV series of all time. It's just a TV show. Everything leads into another. You can't watch one without understanding the others, so you're going to get more of Loki's story before Season 2 even starts. But now, after all my jibber-jabber, let's get into why you are truly here, why this is the actual beginning of Phase 4, and the importance of this show. First off, it introduces the multiverse, and as we know, the multiverse plays a huge, huge role in the rest of the MCU. In the next Spider-Man movie, we have had little rumors and chitter-chatter about Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire entering into it. And everyone was like, that's impossible, how's that going to happen? This is how it's going to happen. The multiverse. And then in Doctor Strange, we have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. The multiverse is going to be the biggest bad in all of MCU Phase 4. And this is the one that's actually introducing it and showing how it kicks off. I've always thought that the biggest hurdle the MCU had after Phase 3, after the Infinity Saga, is how do you top Thanos? How do you make anything feel consequential anymore when you've had Thanos, when you've had half of life on all of the universe wiped out? Nothing can feel like it has stakes at that point. Like in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they were battling worldwide terrorists and it just felt like nothing. Because we just had Thanos, and WandaVision was like, yeah, she's powerful, but this is just one town. But this finally feels like, oh, this is something bigger than Thanos. And it introduces that from the very beginning when Loki walks into the TVA and he's doing everything he can to find the Tesseract, only to find that there's just drawers of Infinity Stones. Infinity Stones mean nothing to these people.
What? Infinity Stones? How do you have these?
Oh, we actually got a lot of those. Yeah, some of the guys use them as paperweights.
He, a self-proclaimed god, is like, is this the most powerful place in the universe? His magic doesn't even work there. They're unconcerned with him. They're unconcerned with the Avengers. They're unconcerned with Thanos. None of it matters to them. They are the most powerful place in the universe because they're created by Kang, the most powerful being in the universe, controlling the multiverse in the palm of his hand. And now all of that is unraveled. There'll be millions of Kangs, possibly millions of Thanoses. Who knows what else is out there? Every single avenue is open, and even weirder avenues are opened. It used to be that when they introduced Doctor Strange, people thought introducing wizards into the MCU is a little weird. I don't know if I can handle that. Imagine if there were 30 of Doctor Strange. Imagine if they were able to get RDJ back to reprise Iron Man, but he never became Iron Man. I believe the next show, What If, is going to get us used to the idea of different things happening in universes to where maybe Tony Stark never becomes Iron Man.
Yeah, peace. I love peace. I'd be out of a job with peace. Do we know each other?
Maybe the Hulk never comes to grips with his hulkiness. Maybe he's Edward Norton. That'd be weird. What if they bring back Edward Norton? I hadn't even thought about that until just now. But this is the first thing that does a good job making me not wonder what can top Thanos. I wasn't even sure if I was going to continue watching the MCU after Endgame because I was like, where the hell do they go from here? And the way King describes it is that all of the MCU happened in a set out planned course for why he did it. And it kind of makes me feel like all of it's almost inconsequential because he just planned all that to happen. He planned for the Avengers to win. He planned for the Avengers to go back in time and then forward in time. He planned for Thanos to get the stones. All of that was planned down to the Hulk having to take the damn stairs in order for Loki to get the Tesseract in his hands so the TVA would get him, so that he would escape, so that he would find Sylvie, so they would end up in front of Kang so he could present them with those two options. Everything in the entirety of the Infinity Saga was all to get Loki in front of Kang. And that makes the Infinity Saga seem small somehow compared to what's coming next. So that, my friends, is why this is so important. But thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Check out my other videos.